What's going on, campers? Campfacer here. Today we're talking about the fan-made film Jason Rising. This is a spoiler review, so I highly recommend anybody out there that has not seen it yet. It's free on YouTube, Jason Rising. Go watch it right now and then come back to this video. Otherwise, I'm going to give away a bunch of little spoilers. Let's get into this.
Campfacer.
Okay, so before I start this video, I want to say a big shout out to my camp members for joining the channel and supporting the channel. I appreciate it. As always, if you are looking to help support and become a member of this channel, I will leave a link down in the description below, and I thank you guys. So first off, I'm a huge horror movie fan. I'm a huge Friday the 13th fan. You guys know this. I've been over 100,000 times. It's actually the first movie I ever saw as a horror movie. It was Friday the 13th, the final chapter. And that's why I really kind of dig this Jason Rising film, because it basically takes place after part 4, give or take. Now, before I even talk about this film, let me just go over a couple of things about fan-made films and what's cool about them and what's wrong with them. Now, fan-made film, when you think about a fan-made film, what do you think? You think just some kids out of their basement with a couple cameras, whether $1,000 plus cameras, and they get together and write a story and they do a film on whether it's their original film or they make a story about a IP franchise or what have you, and they do a little short film of it. And that's what I think a fan-made film is. So that, to me, you know, it's exciting to see how well they do this fan-made film, not having money or even a lot of money or how much they raise in a Kickstarter. But the problem about some fan-made films is they take a long time to make and a lot of money, and when they start building more than $30,000 and taking a few years, and some of them are actually companies that shoot, independent companies that are putting them together. Technically it's still a fan-made film, but here's where the problem comes into play. Now the fans out there expect a little more. They're like, oh, we're getting thousands of dollars poured into a film, and these guys have good cameras, crew. They're getting people from the actual films into their film, whether they're paying them out of the fan crowd-funded money, and so on. So now they're expecting a lot more than what two dudes in their basement would be doing. So now that's why, you know, people start judging the movies more and criticizing it more and wanting more out of it. Now, is that a problem with me? No, not at all. Do I judge it a little bit more, like I just said? Most likely, you know. I'm looking at it now more like an independent film company put together a film, quote-unquote fan-made film. So this video, I'm judging, I'm criticizing, I'm gonna give you my opinion. You know, it's just my opinion. Don't hate me for it. I want to be an honest review here. I don't want to lie, do a white lie because everyone else out there is saying, oh, it's great, this, that, the next thing. I'm going to tell you, I watched this movie twice, okay? The first time, I was open-minded with it, but I kind of, you know, it all came in too quick, so then I went back 2 days later and watched it again with a straightforward, took it all in, kind of, I missed a couple things the first time. The second time, I'm like, oh, okay. So let me first start off by saying the Jason the Jason who acted as Jason, and the mask and the hood and the makeup, it looked great. Did it look exactly like part 4 Ted White when he got killed from Tommy? Pretty close. I mean, he was buried in the film for X amount of years, but I love the distressed look, the dark dried up blood and mud or whatever it was on the mask. His eyes looked really cool. All the practical effects in this, for the most part, you guys, was pretty damn cool. I liked it. I loved the soundtrack, the score. I loved the choosing of the piano that they put in there, the build up, the tension. was a lot of like cool stings, stuff like that. I really enjoyed that. That was really creative, and it gave you that whole like tense moment, excitement. And you know, if you don't pick and choose the right soundtrack to movies, it could just destroy it. And that in this film, it worked. It worked out really well. I enjoyed that. Let's go on to say the acting. The acting was pretty on par. I was trying to see, like a lot of fan-made films, there's like, if you get, the more people you get in there, the harder it is to get everybody on par and go with the flow. The only acting in this one I didn't really care too much for was one of the escapees. I can't remember her name. It's the one that she got her head chopped off against the tree. She was kind of like over-exaggerating her scream during the kill. I don't know. But, you know, on an overall, the acting, I want to say, was probably like an 8 out of 10. The story was one solid story. What was it about? It was basically about Jason, Camp Crystal Lake being shut down because of the whole thing that happened. You know, the sheriff, the police didn't want people in there for said reasons. But then, of course, the escapees, they go, hop the fence, and they're like, hey, if we go in there, no one's going to track us. They're not going to want to go in there. We'll split up in Camp Crystal Lake. And then that's when everything goes south. Now, I want to say this. I'm going to call this film a comic book horror slasher. Now, when I say comic book, I say over the top. Like Creepshow meets Evil Dead, especially because Pamela Voorhees comes back with no head, walking around, pulls Jason out of the ground. That was really cool to me with the fog. Over-exaggerated a little bit, but it was fun, and we kind of want that. We kind of want something that's not so straightforward, serious, or realistic, and obviously that would never happen, so that's why I call this a comic book horror slasher genre. Some of the humor, too, in this film is great. I liked how Deputy Pete was at his father's grave talking to his father, and his female partner, I can't remember her name, she's sitting there reading a Fangoria, and you hear the beeping coming down the radar, and you hear an engine going about 100 miles an hour by her, and it's like beep, 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 and she's reading, and she just looks up.
Dispatch calling Glover, over.
And she goes, and she puts her head back in it, she drinks her coffee. And I do also have that Fangoria. That was from a few months ago, or last year's Fangoria. I thought that was funny. It just goes to show her character right in the beginning of this film, what kind of a person she's going to be playing as. Kind of doesn't care about much. She doesn't get scared too easy. She's kind of funny. I thought her acting was great. Pete was okay. Then you had Bear, which was kind of like that tough guy, AR, laser scope, some humor, not scared of much. And he's like, I'm going to follow these tracks, making jokes with the other guys. And then other than the other acting, the other characters, I couldn't really fall in love with some of the other characters because they didn't have much that was really all there. They were just kind of placed in there. They had their little side jokes and they'd split off. But between Pete, his female partner, Bear, they were one of the few that I definitely enjoyed in this film. Some of the kills, I'm going to talk about some of the kills. I really enjoyed. My favorite kill in this film was when one of the escapees in the canoe was finally starting to get away. Jason came up out of the water and pulled her down, but then it cut away, which was kind of, I get it. It was kind of weird, but it cut away. But then it came back, which was kind of cool because you thought she was dead there. But when it came back, here she is crawling from the water through the mud onto like the beachy area, up into the grass, and it shows Jason just popping his mask back on. And what was really cool about that scene was, if you listen to the score, there was this really cool sting. It sounded kind of like swans repeating, like a reverb with delay and echo, and it was like this really weird like the swans out there or something like wah, 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 wah. And the way Jason came up behind her, and you could see the fear in the actress's face. She played it cool, and Jason pulls her head up. Machete right through her mouth. That was really cool practical effect. That was great job on that, you guys. Good job doing that. That was, I want to say that was by Vincent DeSanti who did that one. He probably pieced that one together. Correct me if I'm wrong. It looked like a Never Hike Alone type of vibe of a kill to me. The camera work, the picture, the grainy, it held late 80s, early 90s vibe to like the way everything looked in the film. It wasn't overdone. Like, I don't like that 4K that some films do. It looks like a soap opera you're looking at. This didn't really look like that at all. I definitely appreciated that. The Easter eggs in this film were great. You can't complain at all about these Easter eggs. It was great seeing Ginny as like a psychiatrist of Alice, and that basically dismisses Alice's ice pick to the head, because Ginny says, I hope you're not seeing these hallucinations anymore at the end. So that tells me that when we watched it in the movie, it's dismissing that she died, so maybe that's why she's not dead and she's in this fan-made film. That was cool. I also like the Easter egg of earlier on in the film, one of the deputies says, what is this fenced off area here? And the other guy says, it's been fenced off because there's a legal dispute of the owners of the camp. It's been going on for years. That's a little Easter egg towards Victor Miller and Sean Cunningham, I want to say, about the lawsuit. And if I'm not correct me now, but I think that's what they were talking about. A few things I thought that were weird in this film that threw me off was when Bear looked up in the woods with the scope, and he's like, what the hell is that? And it was Pamela with no head walking towards him. He saw it clear as day. He starts shooting her, and then she kind of bounces away into the fog or the mist or whatever, and then it cuts away. And then us viewers are like, well, what happened with that? And then it comes back, and he's still jogging through the woods after her, and it's getting more foggy. That was kind of weird. I mean, if you saw a headless, like, he didn't even react to it. He was just kind of like, oh, I'm going after that. That was kind of dumb. This is why I'm saying, you guys, films aren't perfect. And I'm being honest to you guys about this. There was a few things like that that bounced around too much. Too many things that were like, there was a kill going on, and all of a sudden it cut away, and it went back. And then you almost forgot about what was happening, and it came back, and you're like, oh, well, wait a minute. I thought he was chasing this, Other than that, there weren't too many things wrong with this fan-made film. Besides, there was one more thing that threw me for a loop, and I wish they didn't do this. When Jason went to his shack to look at his mother's shrine, the head was there, okay? That was cool. But when he got closer and started like listening to her voice in his head, you'll notice it had like this ghostly image over the head, and it reminded me of something you'd see in like Are You Afraid of the Dark or something cheesy like that.
Their suffering will be our revenge.
It's time to punish them for what they did to us, for what they did to you, for what they did to...
They should have left that out of it. They should have just left him looking at just the decapitated head, the rotted head. That would have been enough for me. But when I saw that ghostly vibe over the head, it was kind of weird. I didn't care too much for that. So between that and Bear shooting the corpse and kind of just acting like it was no big deal, and it cut away, things like that were kind of weird. I don't know. A really cool kill, but was kind of like, could have been done a little more gruesome, I think, is when Jason slices down the back of Bear's body and pulls his spine out with his skull. I really do wish, I mean, I'm asking a lot here, but when he went to slice, if it showed slow motion in detail of the machete coming down the back of his head and all the way down his back, and Jason like ripping open the skin to the body and slowly just make it harder to pull out, because it was like a quick slice. He reaches down and pulls it up and looks at it. It was a little over exaggerated and quickly done. It could have been done a lot more, you know, slow motion detail and more like that. If that was made a little more real, like it would have been more like mess with your mind, like, oh my god, he's like, you hear the noises and pulling it out. Now overall, you guys, I want to say I enjoyed this film. I'm going to give Jason Rising a 8 out of 10. That's my score. I want to say Never Hike Alone. I wanted to, back in the day, I gave it a 10 out of 10 because to me, it was short and sweet. It was solid all around. It was simple. It was on the edge of your seat because all it was just one dude trying to get away without, you know, and you know, it was, you're hoping the whole time he doesn't hear him. He's trying to crawl back out of the camp while the ghost hawk Jason's chasing him. It was a little more simple to review that movie. So I give that a 10 out of 10. This one an 8 out of 10 because there was a couple things that could have been done a little bit better. And I only say that because they had, 3 years with all this extra money and equipment and people coming into the production. So, yeah, there's my review, you guys. I hope you enjoy. Please give this video a like if you have not already, or give it a dislike if you disapprove. That's fine with me. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and I will see you guys in the next video at camp. And as always, campers, stay out of those woods.